Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. A warm welcome to everyone. My name is Maria Luisa Toledo. I am from the Brazilian Institute of Geography and Statistics in Brazil, and I also have the honor of leading the United Nations Regional Hub for Big Data in Brazil. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to today's event, which is organized in partnership with the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development Data, the GPSDD. This is the ninth and final webinar in our special series focused on climate change indicators. And just a quick reminder, today's session is being recorded and simultaneous interpretation into Spanish is available. With this event, the Regional Hub for Big Data concludes a journal of webinars aimed at sharing experience and innovations in the use of new data sources and technologies for climate change mitigation. Since its launch in September 2024, we have explored topics such as climate change and disaster metrics, sustainable tourism, hydrological hazard, remote sensing, geographic information, child climate risk, agriculture and environmental statistics, and the use of Earth observation and artificial intelligence in agricultural statistics. Altogether, this series has brought more than 1,500 participants from 31 countries. Recordings of the past sessions are available in the Hub's website. And today's webinar is titled Producing Climate Change Data for SDG Monitoring in Suriname. We are honored to be joined by outstanding speakers who will guide you through today's topic. And to officially open the session, I'm pleased to invite Mr. Freddy Rodrigues Galvis, who is the Senior Regional Manager for Latin America and the Caribbean at GPSDD, to say a few words. Mr. Galvis, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Luisa, and thank you everyone for joining this session today. For me, it's a pleasure to be in the opening together with Luisa, just giving a few words on the importance of this kind of sessions and why for the region will be relevant to hear the experience of Suriname. So you might have heard about Suriname and the things that they've done in terms of statistics and environmental statistics particularly. And the experiences that they have in the sub-Caribbean region, but also they have been doing some work in relation to the use of innovative methods, particularly the use of Earth observations, including the policy focus as well. As a global partnership, we've been supporting different countries in Africa and in Latin America to explore these kind of innovations, to think out of the box, we can say, and especially that the traditional sources are an important data and information source for decision making, but it's also how we can explore those new sources, such as big data, AI, to increase policy making based on evidence. And that's something that Suriname has done. And especially in one particular case that we done last year with them on the small scale gold mining. They will be speaking about different things that they have done in terms of climate change monitoring, the SDGs reporting as well. So I'm very pleased that Angeli and Valentin are joining this webinar because you can get insights of the lessons learned from Suriname and actually how these lessons can be translated into collaborations as well with other countries in the region so that we can learn and take advantage of those processes that other countries have done in the past as well. So I'm very pleased that Angeli and Valentin will be speaking about this, and also those examples how could be an inspiration for other countries as well, so that data-driven solutions are part of the processes as well. And as I said, the policy angle is always an important result, we can say, or output of the things that we do, especially when working on statistics, even if it's non-official statistics, how we can actually leverage more data that is based on evidence, but also has very concrete methodologies implemented on this. So thank you for joining this webinar, and I welcome Angeli and Valentin to this webinar, but a special thanks to them for taking the time to share the experiences from Suriname. Thanks, and back to you, Luisa.
Thank you, Fred, for the partnership, for making this webinar happen. And so let's move into the heart of the session. So we are pleased to welcome Mr. Angeli, a statistician at the General Bureau of Statistics in Suriname since 2008. Mr. Angeli holds a master's degree in research methods and a bachelor's in international economics, with extensive experience data collection and compilation, especially in the areas of environmental statistics, climate change indicators, SDGs and poverty statistics. And joining her is Ms. Valentin, a dedicated expert in land use and land cover monitoring at the Foundation for Forest Management and Production Control. With a strong background in environmental science, she applies advanced monitoring technologies, especially the remote sensing, to analyze land use dynamics and their impact on ecosystem. And before we begin, just a few reminders. Please feel free to submit your questions in the WebEx chat at any time. We will address them at the end of the presentation. And since we have participants from across the globe, we invite you to share where you are joining us from. So please type your country in the chat. And Mr. Angeli and Ms. Valentin, thank you so much for joining us today. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Let me share my presentation. I hope you guys can see my presentation.
Yes, you can see it.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. My name is Anjali Kisunsing, and today I will be talking about the production of climate data for SDG monitoring in Suriname. So I will talk about climate change statistics, the data collection process, our data availability status, various data collection sources, challenges and weaknesses, opportunities and lessons learned. Suriname's experience with climate change statistics. It was a milestone for Suriname to publish its first climate change report in August 2023, following the footsteps of Jamaica and Tanzania. You can find this report on our GBS website. The Ministry of Spatial Planning and Environment, which is the climate change focal point of Suriname, acknowledges the importance of having such a report, which is very crucial for climate change policy for all IPCC areas, but mostly for mitigation and adaptation processes. Although Suriname has their environment statistics publications that they publish every 2 years, having a separate climate change statistical publication makes it easier to link with the existing climate change projects from the UNFCCC submissions, which some of you know as the NDC, the NAPS, the National Communications. We're having an environmental statistics report is much broader than having data on specific greenhouse gas data. GBS contributed to SDG 13 in their first VNR, and for their second VNR, they submitted data for all indicators. So the data collection process. It took almost 2 years to produce the climate change report. The first quarter of 2022, we sent data request letters. We have about 50 stakeholders, In the second quarter, we draft our zero report draft, and then we have a workshop where all the data is presented. The stakeholders have to validate the data. But what's also very important at this workshop is that we also teach the stakeholders about the various frameworks that we use. For instance, when we collect data, we use three main guidelines. We can call them like our Bible. We use the UNSD, the Framework for the Development of Environment Statistics, also known as the FDES. This contains 6 components, 21 subcomponents, and about 458 indicators. So you go through all the indicators and you try to collect data for most of them. We have about 52% of data available. The second is, of course, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We had about 37% data available from 84%. A lot of the SDGs are either full environment related or partial environment related. So when you look at SDG 2, 3, 8, and 9, then some of the indicators are either climate change or environment related. But when you look at SDG 6, 7, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, those are like fully like the whole indicator of the whole SDG is environment/climate change related. And our latest framework, the global set of climate change statistics and indicator, this was adopted in 2022. This framework helps you guide to collect data on specific climate change. This contains 5 IPCC area with about 158 indicators. So we go through all the indicators and we try to collect whatever data is available. This is a status of the data availability by IPCC area. So most of the data that we have available are for the impacts and for vulnerability. If you want more information, you can always go and download the report and then you can have an idea on which of the indicators we have data for. The 5 IPCC areas are drivers, impacts, vulnerability, mitigation, and adaptations. So the data collection sources. Our main data sources are administrative data. We mostly get this data either from Excel or Words. Although we would like to get databases, we still have to work on data sharing, maybe have to work on our MOUs, but we do get a lot of data, but just partial data like in an Excel file or in a Words file. Also, censuses and surveys, they provide a lot of data, especially for information about the population. Indicators for the IPCC area vulnerability. For instance, the 2024 population and housing census has data, and the 2025 agriculture census has data for the Afolo sector. We also get data from environment policy reports, conventions, regulations. Some of the SDGs, they ask you, did your country ratify such a specific law or such a specific act? So we get information from that. Also information about academic papers, journals, websites, and database, and GIS data. I highlighted this because today we're going to talk about other forms of data collections. For instance, when we look at information about deforestation, land degradation, we use a lot of GIS data that we get from SBB, where my colleague Valentine will go a little bit more in depth. So here I try to highlight an SDG indicator linked with data that we got through the GIS information. When we look at SDG 15.1.1, like forest area as a proportion of total land area, the definition is forest area proportion of total land. You can see from 2019 until 2023, we did have a little bit of a decline, but until now, Suriname has 93% forest. And I don't know if you know that Suriname is also one of the most forested countries in the world when it comes to forest compared to population. So I think likely we will meet this target before 2030. Next SDG 15.1.1, the proportion of important sites for terrestrial and freshwater biodiversity that's covered by protected areas. We have data from we have data from earlier years, but I tried to keep the last 5 years. About 14% of our area is protected. When we look at SDG target 15.3.1, the proportion of land that is degraded over total land area, as you can see from 2000 until 2021, there are various periods here. All this data we get from the Foundation of Forest Management and Production Control, and everything is collected via GIS. You can see that it's grew. So more area is being deforested. So you have a table on the left side, and on the right side there is a bar chart. And one of the biggest areas, you can see the purple, the color purple, the column is big because we have a lot of gold mining in Suriname. And you know, gold mining causes a lot of deforestation. So that is one of our biggest drivers of deforestation. These are some maps that we also got from SBB. So the first map here above is a deforestation rate from 2000 to 2019. You can see the color, the red spots on the first area. But when you look at the map of 2020, more red areas. So gold mining, you know, means more funding, more money, so a lot more deforestation. So you also have the graphs on the side. When you look on the second part, this is the post-deforestation land use and land cover map. And also here you can see the difference between the yellow in this state. Yellow is the mining part. Like I said, gold mining is the main reason of our deforestation, and this data is made possible thanks to GIS. And another indicator, 15.4.1, coverage by protected areas of important sites for mountain diversity. So this map is also provided by the Ministry of SBB with all the protected areas in Suriname. So what are our challenges and weaknesses? We rely a lot on administrative data, and when you rely on administrative data, if you yourself did not collect the data, this could result in lower data quality or even no data for some years due to staff turnover. And also when the institute send data to us, they don't always send the metadata, so we don't always know how they collect the data. The statistical capacity of the government needs to be enhanced and increased through more training, especially in metadata. I mean, the National Statistical Office, we get a lot of training. So we understand the indicator, how to calculate the indicator. But if I would send a data request letter to someone in the government who did not get that training, they will not understand the indicator. And what will you will get? No, we don't have that data. They might have a lot of data, but they need to know what to, how to compile it. So we need to also train people outside the statistical office. We need to train them in the framework for the development of environment stats, the global set, the SDG indicators. Then the data flow will be better. Data collection is very time consuming. At this moment, there's only one person, it's only me working on the data collection, and I don't have a specific division. So I don't have staff that helps me. That is why we only collect the data every 2 years. And you also need to constantly email or phone the stakeholders, or visit them with personal visits. I call myself a professional a stalker, a polite one, but you have to do this because once you send the letter and you don't contact the persons, you don't hear anything, you're not gonna get the data. Some of the data is not processed in the required format or not disaggregated. We know how important it is to get data by sex, by age. We want disaggregation. But sometimes we have to be so lucky we just get the national data. So we need to work more on getting more disaggregated data, especially by gender and district. We don't have a national strategy for the development of statistics yet. Soon we will be having that because we will be working on one. And the last one is the most critical one. Due to lack of financial and human resources, specialized surveys cannot be conducted. But not all is bad because there are also some very good opportunities and strengths Although we don't have an NSAS yet, we do have a very good collaboration with the government, the private sector, and also with international organizations such as UNDP. We also participate in many national, regional, when you think about CARICOM and ECLAC, international UNSD, United Nations, FAO, Global Partnership, etc., in environment and climate change statistics and SDG workshops. So I'm just going to give a little overview from 2016 until now. So GBS is a member of the expert group of environment and climate change statistics, also known as the ECCS, and we contributed actively to the global set of climate change statistics that was adopted in 2022 and also on other topics. In 2017, we were a member of the CARICOM Technical Working Group on Environment Statistics and also the Technical Working Group on SDGs, which helped produce the CARICOM core set of SDGs. In 2018, we had our sixth multiple indicator cluster survey, which provided a lot of data, especially for the social SDG indicators. Between 2019 and 2022, every 2 years, we publish our environment statistics report. In 2020, we contributed to our first VNR and also our second VNR, which was submitted this month. Of our first VNR, we only reported on 4 SDGs, SDG 4, 8, 13, and 17. And I had the honor to write SDG 13. And for this VNR, which we reported on all 17 SDGs, I provided at least the GBS provided most of the data. Like I mentioned before, the workshops really help because when you invite all the stakeholders, you get to introduce the global set. You can introduce the importance of collecting data, because sometimes when you would ask an institute, do you have this data, they would see it as extra work. If they don't know how important a little table that they provide could mean, for instance, to calculate greenhouse gases, if they don't see the importance, they will not go the extra mile to provide the data. But when you have these workshops, you explain to them what you can do with the data, how important it is, it helps. So at the 10th and our 10th and 11th environmental statistics publication, we introduced these frameworks. And we had experience with collecting data since 2016. We also contributed to our climate change knowledge database for Suriname called Dondru. This needs to be updated. In 2023, we published our first climate change report. In 2024, which was which was an honor for me, we had a South-South cooperation through CARICOM, where we assisted 3 countries. We assisted St. Lucia in February 24, Bahamas in March 24, and Dominica in July 24, with trying to collect data for their first or second environment statistics report. So we actually went there. We had 3 days workshops in all the countries. We went through the CISAT and the ISAT. These are like Excel tools where you go through all the indicators and you will ask them, do you have the data? Who could have the data? Like it's a whole set of various questions that could lead you to who could have data so you could send letters to them. In 24, we published our 11th environment stats publication. And also we started with our 9th census. It's still ongoing. Hopefully by the end of this year, we will be done with the field work. And the census will contain a lot of data, especially for SDGs 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 16, and 17. In 2025, we had successfully conducted our 6th agriculture census after almost 17 years. And this census will provide a lot of data for the census, but also a lot of data that we need for our greenhouse gases. And we're also working together with the Ministry of Environment on our first biannual transparency report. Lessons learned: quality and availability of data are the most critical issues. Human, technical, and financial resources are scarce. Environment statistics and climate change statistics should be a priority issue for the government. Otherwise, you will have nice reports and nothing is done with those reports. So it needs to be, the importance needs to be on a high level. There needs to be more technical capacity. And what I also want to highlight, don't just provide training 1 year, because you have a lot of staff turnover. So these trainings need to be provided annually. We have to strengthen collaboration between the statistical office and authorities responsible for environment and climate change to enhance the data production, dissemination, etc., and strengthen institutional collaboration in administrative data collection, sharing with sustainable means of data supply to climate change related policies. And that's it. Thank you.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I am Valentine Mousoulet. I am from the Foundation for Forest Management and Production Control. I will be presenting to you how we collect this data set that we have to report to the General Bureau of Statistics. And we are the technical work arm of the land policy, of the Ministry of Land Policy and Forest Management. We monitor the changes within the forest within our National Forest Monitoring System. We have several activities, including the monitoring of deforestation and degradation. And this we also do in collaboration with national stakeholders and communities, especially when it comes to validating the data set. So producing deforestation, we do within the satellite land monitoring system. And when we monitor degradation, we actually have two systems. That's the Sustainable Forestry Information System, where the logs are being tracked starting from the harvest to the export. So that's that data is collected within the SFIS. Also, we have the near real-time monitoring system, the NRTM, where unplanned logging activities are also being monitored. So within these activities, we actually collect the activity data. And to report on estimation, we also need the emission factors. That's where we have the National Forest Monitoring System, the NFI within the National Forest Monitoring System. That's the National Forest Inventory. So all this data that we have produced is available on two platforms. We have the geographical data platform, that's the Gonini, and we also have the statistical data platform, that's the copy. You can see the links in the slides. I think the presentation will also be shared. And when it comes to reporting, we report nationally as well as internationally. So as Anjali mentioned, she has no issues when it comes to collecting data from SBB, especially when it comes to the FOLU sector, the forestry and other land use sector. We have reported to the General Bureau of Statistics. We also report to the Spatial Planning Office nationally and other institutions. And internationally, we have reported to the UNFCCC. You can see all our reports on the right. You can find the links on the UNFCCC platform. And also some RED Plus results are already produced within the years 2016, 17, 18, 19 till 21. So as I mentioned, when we report on the emissions and removals, we use the formula below. where we multiply the activity data with the emission factor, and that's how you get the emission estimate. So deforestation data, as I have mentioned, is monitored within the satellite land monitoring system. And we track the rates of deforestation using satellite images. Satellite images are used from Landsat till the year 2016, and starting from 2017, we use Sentinel-2 images. In the image on the right, you can see a Sentinel-2 image. Yes. When we monitor the land use changes, we use a definition of the forest where we have a minimum tree count cover of 30% and a minimum area of 1 hectare. This definition excludes ground cover from trees planted for agricultural purposes and tree cover in areas that are predominantly under urban or agriculture use. And it also, but the forest includes shifting cultivation because Suriname has this traditional agriculture in the interior where they use slash and burn activities to plant, yes, and these areas are usually regenerated really fast, and that's why we see this area still as forest. The method that we use for the deforestation monitoring is the wall-to-wall method, and data results are available for the period 2000 till 2023. Yes, and in this, you see the process chain on the right, where we have the pre-processing, the core processing, and the post-processing. And the strong thing about our data set is the post-processing step, actually, where we, in the pre-processing, we create a database of all the images. In the core processing, we do a supervised classification. And then we come in the post-processing, using the human mind to the human brain to interpret these land use changes. And this data set gives us some more robust data when it comes to representing the national circumstances. So I would say that handmade data is always more detailed, right? Here you can see the data set. We have deforestation maps for the period 2000 till 2023. As you can see in our data, most of the deforestation occur in the east of the country, and 90 or more than 92% of all the deforestation is in this area that is known as the greenstone belt. And within this area, it's mostly deforestation that is caused by gold mining. If we look at the statistics are shared on the Copy statistical platform. We have yearly deforestation for the past 5 years, an average of 9,000 hectares. This has really increased since 2019, as you can see here. In this period, we had deforestation of about 500 hectares. In 2014, we have seen a peak, and that is where we also have seen that it's also important to monitor deforestation on yearly basis. So luckily for the last 5 years, this has been a stable trend. It has increased since the past, but it has stayed stable in the last 5 years. It's about 9,000 hectares per year. And looking at our forest cover percentage, we can say that for 2023, we still have a forest cover of 92.54%. We also monitor the causes of deforestation within the post-deforestation classification. So we actually look in more detail what the land use was driving the deforestation. So we have seen in this data set that the main driver of deforestation is still gold mining with a percentage of 65%. That is followed by infrastructure with a percentage of 19%. The third driver is agriculture with a percentage of 5%. So when reporting this data, we have also seen that it's important to justify the classifications, and some report or some crediting mechanisms acquire that we have three classifications where one of them can be a automated or a machine classification. So in last year, we had this partnership. The government of Suriname had this partnership with the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development and the Islamic Development Bank, the Inter-American Development Bank, where there has been a training. 30 national stakeholders has been trained in machine learning techniques used to detect changes in forest cover for the years 2019 and 2022. From these 2 years, a study has been executed in a pilot area where there is a lot of gold mining, because yes, gold mining is the main driver of deforestation in Suriname. So it results in this pilot project, plot has shown an increase of 47% in small-scale gold mining activities if we compare the years 2022 with 2019, and a loss of 24.56 square kilometers of rainforest. Also, an increase has been seen of about 40% in water turbidity between 2019 and 2022, and the area of 5.86 square kilometers experienced more than 10% drop in vegetation health. And resulting from this data set, a policy report has been produced and presented to the government of Suriname during a workshop. We also have the National Land Use Land Cover data set. That's the latest is for the year 2020. And the slides above has showed how we collect the activity data. Now we are moving forward to how we actually collect the emission factors. So we have in total 218 plots, NFI plots, where 17 are in the mangrove. And here you can see on the right the NFI plot, the NFI grid, and the plots that has been where data has been collected. So we haven't visited all the plots, as you can see, because most of this area is not reachable with by the road. So it's really expensive to execute the NFI for the whole grid. So we have selected some plots for the data collection. And I've mentioned that 17 plots are in the mangrove. We have done 2 measurements in the mangrove. In the NFI for the other forest types, we actually have done only 1 measurement because, as I've mentioned, it really costs a lot to do an NFI in the interior. In the mangrove, we have done 2 measurements. One was done in the year 2018, 2019, and the second was done in the year 2020 to 2023. We have seen overall in the plots a positive change in carbon stock, as you can see here. Some of the plots, 6 plots, were new in the second measurement, so that's why you don't see an estimate for the year 2018. And interesting about it is overall we see a net increase, an increase in carbon stock. Actually, in sampling unit 2, that's you can see here, it's in the west, we have seen a decrease in carbon stock. And also because we have a very dynamic coast, you can also see the changes within the mangrove coverage. And I haven't mentioned it before, but the data set that we have produced before, we use a minimum land area where the mangrove is actually excluded, because otherwise you will have the dynamics within, you will see the dynamic of the coast when we report this data set. So that's why we have excluded the dynamic coast. And the mangrove is monitored within another project. If we look at the mangrove coverage for the period 2000 till 2023, we see that in some areas there has been a gain in mangrove, but in some areas within that year we have seen a loss. So for the whole period, if you look at the net change, we can see that we have periods of gains followed by periods of losses. Looking at the total mangrove area for 2018, we have about 908 square kilometers. And for 2023, we have 830 square kilometers. And this can actually be explained because in 2023, we're actually in a period where we have losses of mangroves. We are in this period. So that's why we see the decrease here. Looking at the carbon storage measurements, we have measured trees starting from 5 centimeter dBH, and we have collected above ground biomass and below ground biomass. Interesting in this data is that you can see that the below ground biomass is about 4 times more than the above ground biomass in the mangrove ecosystem. So this concludes that the mangrove ecosystem is a very important ecosystem to also monitor. Also, within this process, the mangrove monitoring process, we also look at improvements and the development of new technologies within these improvements. So this year, we have been trained in using the terrestrial LiDAR scanner and terrestrial laser scanner. This scanner is a very light scanner and it's very suitable for the mangrove. Actually, we also have TLS data for the mangrove, but we have collected data on plot level. This TLS collects data on tree level, where we can obtain more detailed estimates when it comes to a tree level. So these estimates will be used in obtaining allometric equations. Looking at the forestry data, this is the part of the forest degradation. We don't see forestry as deforestation, but as forest degradation. So forestry data has been improved since the SFIS system, that's the Sustainable Forestry Information System. This system collects data starting from the moment that the tree is being logged till the moment that the tree is being exported. So actually, this is only implemented since 2019. So when we report the data for the period 2000 till 2023, we actually only use the volume data because we don't have this improved data set for the full time period. So that's why we use the volume data. Yes, we also believe in the stepwise improvement. So every time we try to improve in ways that we can create more detailed data set and in a more robust way. So this is one of the recent improvements also. Within the third FREL, we have submitted data using other system or other method, that is the systematic sampling approach, where 26,193 points or samples has been distributed over Suriname with a distance of about 2.5 kilometers between every sample. So this data collection is done with a full national data collection team with stakeholders from various institutions. These stakeholders has been trained first in the data collection process, and we have collected this data in a mapathon, and we have reported this in our third FREL. You can also find our report in the UNFCCC website. Now, in 2025, we are still busy with this. We are doing the quality check of some samples which are in the areas of a lot of change. This is to ensure that the data is collected correctly. All this data is transparently being shared on our two platforms, as I've mentioned before. One of them is the Gonini, that's the geographical platform. Some of the layers can be downloadable, as you can see here. The Mangrove data set is also available, and the statistics you can find on the Copy statistical platform, also including all the reports and all the data collection methods. So all of this is shared on our two platforms. So if you want to have a look at our data, please visit these two platforms. So I want to thank you for your attention, and I'm very happy to present to you how we are collecting all this data. And of course, the ultimate goal of all this data is that we have data-driven decisions, data-driven policy, and yes, I'm also happy and open to learn from all of you. So if you want to contact us, you can see here our contact information. So thank you all for your attention.
Thank
Luisa?
you very much, Ms. Valentin and Ms. Angeli. We invite everyone to submit questions in our chat. And the presentations were excellent. I believe that the Suriname's experience in producing its first climate change statistical report is like a remarkable achievement, especially considering the challenges that you have mentioned that are related to data quality, to institutional coordination, and the limited resources. But the alignment of Suriname with international frameworks and the active engagement in regional global networks and the commitment to improving statistical capacity are truly inspiring. And this work, I think it positions Suriname as a leader in the region, the Caribbean, for climate change and SDG monitoring. So congratulations on this important milestone. And related to Ms. Valentin presentation, it was like very clear and very informative. The level of detail and the level of transparency in Suriname's national forest monitoring system is like impressive me. Particular the combination of satellite imagery, the field plots, and machine learning tools to monitor the deforestation and degradation is very impressive. And it's encouraging to see the continuous improvement in data quality, in methodological updates, and the national training effort to enhance the forest data reporting. So thank you and congratulations for this so important work. And I asked people to tell them where they are from, and we have people from different countries. We have people from Argentina, from Peru, from Venezuela, Mexico, Argentina, Ecuador, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, Bogotá, Colombia, and we have a comment. Luis Alfonso Lopes Hernandez, he said that creem que a publicação das estadísticas ajuda a diminuir as atividades que alimentam o câmbio climático. He's asking if you believe that publishing these statistics, if it helps to diminish the activities that feed the climatic change. If you believe that the publishing these statistics helps in make the activities more informative.
Should I reply? Or-
Maybe I can, and then you can
yeah, go ahead.
complement, Anjali. So for SPP, we have indeed this data published transparently, and it's the first step for policymakers to have this data. And of course, we hope that in the end we can indeed reduce the activities leading to climate change. Anjali?
Yes, so what Valentin is saying that we also hope that when you publish a data that good policy will be made. But what I can say for sure is that this data is used for our SDG reporting. If we didn't have this data, we couldn't even say anything about, for instance, SDG 15. And the same with the UNFCCC submissions, like for your national adaptation plans, for your NDCs, your national communication. The first step is having data to at least, have a baseline of what is your situation at certain base year, what is your situation at another base year, so you can at least mention with data saying there has been a decline, there has been an increase, and you could also, say we should do such and such a policy to make sure it gets better. At the statistical office, we do not do policy, but we do provide good quality data, so this can be used to make better policy. But it's always a first step, because without having data that is accessible, you can't even say anything, or you can't even make good policy. Thank you.
Thank you. We have another question from Juan Navarro Sandoval. He's asking if you use electronic sensor to collect field data.
Valentin, maybe it's for you.
Electronic sensors. It's like a data collection tool, or what? Yes, for us, when validating the data, we use, for example, AP Collect 5. It's also free, open source. So when we have to check what the causes are of deforestation, we go to the field, to some places where we are unsure of the land use that we have mapped. So that's one of the tools that we have used, if that is electronic sensors, if that's what he means with electronic sensors. Maybe it's not the correct translation in English now.
Yes, he's asking about sensores electrónicos, but if he can be more specific, Juan, please, you can send the question again. Thank you. And Jaime Chacon, he's asking, Quanto é o valor anual de la inversión em temas climáticos em Suriname? He's asking like, what's the annual investment in climate-related initiatives in Suriname? How much do you invest?
Anjali, do you have insights?
I don't have an idea of how much the Ministry of Environment is investing in actually projects. I would not be able to answer in that. Sorry. But I know they invest, but I can't give you an actual number, but there are various projects with the IDB, for instance, to invest in solar energy, energy in our interior, for instance. So there is investment, but I cannot give you the budget.
And when it comes to our data set, a lot of it is produced on project based. So that is also one of the challenges we're dealing with. That's the institution is not really fully institutionalized. So that's from our side when it comes to the investments, yes.
Okay, thank you. And Luiz Alfonso Lopes Hernandes is asking que políticas ha implementado o Suriname para diminuir a deforestação el país? Like, what policies has Suriname implemented to reduce deforestation in the country?
Recently, a green development strategy has been developed where we have this is actually developed by another ministry. They have used, amongst other, our data set where they have done some modeling, and we have three scenarios. I am not sure which scenarios we were going with, but there are some strategies in reducing deforestation, yes.
Thank you very much. We have more people in the chat saying about the countries they are coming from. Ecuador, Estefania Pizarro de Chile, Colombia, Guatemala, Costa Rica, Venezuela. Oh, it's very good to see people from so different places. Thank you for being here. People are saying thank you, congratulations. We have like 2 minutes to finish, but I'd like to thank you all for being here today. Thank you once again for our brilliant speakers. And I would like to say thanks especially to GPSDD for the continued partnership, which made this meaningful exchange possible. Also for the Rede de Transmissão de Conhecimento, RTC de CEPAL, which is our partner in all the webinars. Thank you very much. And I'd like to remember that the recording of today's session will be available soon on the Hub's official website. And finally, I'd like to warmly invite everyone to stay connected with the Regional Hub. This is the last webinar of the series, and our next webinar series will begin in September, and the focus will be totally related to the presentation of today, because the main theme of the series will be the use of big data for SDG indicator production. So we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.